And, of course, because we are doing a proper breaking down breaking point segment, Donovan needed to run out to get another beer real quick because if you are at all familiar with our breaking down breaking point segments, they do drive us to drink. Quite heavily, in fact. What is happening over there?
Jordan came in to get a water bottle.
Oh,
I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get Penny to come over here. And then I heard that was like, what the fuck is that? I thought the drop was longer. I thought I had more time.
You're like, oh, shit.
The music, I was like, oh, I got like 7 seconds. I'm good. Yeah, that one threw me. Okay, so... If you're not familiar,
yes.
Breaking Down Breaking Points is a segment that we do to destroy breaking points. This is
the show. Points.
This is a program on YouTube that we used to watch all the time, and we still do, but for much different reasons now.
Yeah, now we hate watch it. It bothers me because it makes me angry. And then, but whatever makes me angry, and I'm like, Donovan, you're going to have to watch this. And he's just laughing all goddamn day. And he's going, this stupid motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that we're like opposites like this. It frustrates me. It's hard for me to get through. I hate it. I hate every time she lies and makes stupid points. And you just piss your pants laughing next to me once you start listening to it. I'm going, I wish I could do that.
Is everything okay? Everything okay?
Everything's cool?
Oh, the chicken nuggets.
Ooh, chicken nuggies.
It's the nuggets.
The nuggies. Man, No, we already did the thing, so we're just gonna go with it. I'll save that till later. I'll put that in the grab bag for later.
So this is a 48-minute segment. So we're not gonna watch this whole thing. I did last night for you guys.
You did watch it twice. I only watched it once.
Yes, but we have some timestamps that we're going to go over here. So we can start at 7 minutes. 7 minutes on the dot, and that's
7 minutes on the dot.
And this is going to be just so everyone knows because we get a lot of hate in the comments. Of these videos when we clip them up about like, oh, you guys just hate them because of success and you fucking whatever, So
I hate them because they're stupid.
So we're going to start this by showing a clip of her making actually a pretty good point, right?
Oh, okay.
But hang on to this because it's going to be the last intelligent thing that she says for the whole fucking video. So we'll start here.
Action. Audio's good. Okay. Oh, unless I should probably unmute it. There we go.
It's only 2 seconds. You're fine.
I got to give her due diligence here.
This is important. There is a lot of Democratic glee about, oh, Biden, he's so clever. Like, look at how he called their bluff. And now he's flipped the script on immigration. And now Republicans are, look bad on this. And they're exposed as not really wanting to be serious about this problem. I don't buy that analysis at all.
I totally agree.
I do not buy that analysis at all. Number one, the border, whatever's happening there is still happening on your watch. And, whatever I think of it, there are many Americans who find the chaos, and I think that's fair, who want to see an orderly border process, and that does not exist right now. That is still going to be the case. It is still going to be under a Biden administration, and so that's a problem. Number two, in the last election, Biden versus Trump, we had that prior to that election, we had the whole child separation policy, which Americans were genuinely horrified by. I mean, it was terrible. These kids who were orphaned by the United States government, the audio that was leaked of the Border Patrol agents mocking them, and all of that was horrifying.
Also, bitch, please, you do need to understand that when a lot of these minors come across the border, particularly back during the Trump era, they were accompanied by adults that were not necessarily their parents, and there was no way for you to confirm nor deny whether they were their parents or not. And we knew for a fact that due to all the various colored bracelets that were involved and all these little gems, and they were being smuggled into an unknown end. They were being smuggled across the country, probably to be sold into slavery or sex slavery at some point. But hey, yes, we've discussed this at length during the Trump administration when AOC was down at the fences doing the kids crying on cages and all that shit. But what the point she is making right there,
it's like
is
Sarah Connor, where she gets killed by the fucking nuclear weapon.
Yeah, no.
The level of tragedy that was involved there.
Terminator reference. Good job.
All fabricated. That's what I mean.
But the emotional point she's trying to make there is, is unconsequential. It's non-existent because you have no idea what those kids are. You didn't know the legal status of those kids. You didn't know their parental status. You had no concept of why those kids were being separated from the adults that claimed to be their parents when they came across the border.
Yeah.
That was, and we've discussed it at length. You have to go back to the old Trump era episodes that we did to do that. But she's making an emotional point there that she knows is bullshit, but she's going to try to make it anyways.
Yeah, no, it's the larger point that's actually a good point.
Okay.
So you let her keep going.
And Biden, in part to win a Democratic primary, he really positioned himself as being much more compassionate, of having this inclusive message about immigration, saying he would be a clean break from Donald Trump. And that ended up being a winning message. I mean, I'm not going to say that was like the number one reason why he got elected, but that was
Or
part
that it
of
was
the
true.
appeal, is
Yeah.
it would be
It's
a
worked
break
out
from
real
the
well.
But it's a
cruelty
winning message,
and the
is what she
chaos
says.
of a Donald Trump administration. What Biden and the Democrats have effectively done here is just embraced all of the Republican arguments on immigration, just completely caved and effectively said, like, you're right about immigration and your model is the right model. And guess what? If you want a border hawk, you are not going to defeat Donald Trump
Totally, yes.
on those grounds.
So you could pause there. And so my only point,
Yes.
we're going to give her half a point here because it's like I said, the last intelligent thing that she says for the whole video. She's not wrong about how the Democrats got here. Because we talked about this the last time. They don't actually give a fuck, right?
No.
They made up this whole story of being totally anti-Trump in the 2016 election or the 2020 election so they could win. But they don't actually give a fuck. They don't actually want a solution. They don't actually want different. They don't actually want any type of change. So when push comes to shove and something has to be done, all they do is embrace the Republican policies because that's the only thing that even looks like it might be a solution. But they don't actually give a fuck. It's all politics. There's no
Yes.
compassion. There's no care. There's no anything.
No.
And now they fucked themselves into this position into the only choice they have is to take those policies on and push that forward because it's gotten so bad
Yes.
that that's all there is to do. So that's all. That's the only good point that we're going to give her or that she's going to make for the whole rest of the video.
Good.
Yes.
We'll start off with a good one.
Yes. No, now we'll go to 1355.
Sorry, there's
No, you're
grilled
fine.
chicken, Alfredo sauce, and homemade pasta going on. What is happening in the chat right now? 13 what?
1355. The children and my wife are going to my in-laws' house for dinner, and the children are very selective. So chicken nuggets for dinner.
Fucking chicken nuggies. Let's
Yes.
go, dude. Good taste.
And that really is the core of the issue. Now, the other piece of the issue is, of course, just a question of like, okay, but how many people do you want to come? How many people is appropriate for, how many people? I think there's a practical consideration of how many people can be absorbed in a nation at a time, given the amount of resources, et cetera. My number for that is much higher than your number for that.
Pause right there. So what she just said, right? There's a practical number for the amount of people that can be absorbed into the nation, given the amount of resources, what have you. My number is
She said et cetera.
et cetera,
Because
that's what she says.
that's her favorite word.
My number is much bigger than your number. No, there is one number. You just said that. There's a practical number of people that can be let into the country given the amount of resources.
Yep.
You can't have a higher number than that and make it a practical number because that's the practical number. There is, in fact, she says something later about like a zero-sum game, and she's talking about what it's to be gained and whatever. When you're talking about an equalizing of who can and can't be here, there is a zero-sum you need to meet at.
Yeah.
You have a finite amount of resources, a finite amount of money, and a finite amount of space and housing.
Yes.
That's the amount of people that can be here. That is all. If you have a higher number than that, you are not being practical, you're not being rational, you're not being reasonable, you're not being fucking anything other than ridiculous.
Yes.
Because that's more people than could even be practically, reasonably considered to be allowed in here. Whether or not that's the number that should be allowed in, your number is ludicrous because it's past what is even practical.
Well, she doesn't even have a number, but that's fine.
She doesn't, but
I
it's
will
higher
say
than what it
this.
is now
Of
because
course.
that's what's practical.
So
But even though we're at an emergency status by all fucking accounts.
Yeah. And I will say this, just to give her a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt. She says that there is a practical number that one could arrive on. And then you could disagree about what that number is based off of your interpretation of the categories that you're looking at
other
to go, okay,
statistics.
this is what this practical number would be.
Yeah.
And she would go, well, because we can always build more housing, we could do this, we could do that. Who knows? There's a lot of things that could go into that, whatever that practical number is. Hence, you could disagree on it. But the basis of the argument being there are a finite number of resources that need to be tapped to allow X amount of we'll even just say this, legal immigrants to come into the country at one time.
Yeah.
But that's not what she's talking about.
No.
She's talking about these illegal criminal aliens that are seeking asylum.
Yeah.
That's what she's actually talking
you
about.
guys
But
will-
realistically, yes, the number of legal migrants could be determined based off of number of factors, which we can argue about, where we would arrive at a particular number. And yes, somebody that is a much more open borders person is going to come at a higher number than somebody that is more conservative when it comes to legalized immigration, for sure.
And we'll see later that she does play this game a lot, switching back and forth between illegal immigrants and legal migrants, people that like should be allowed to migrate here. Switches back and forth in her conversation. It doesn't say anything about it. So she'll use different statistics, different standards. She talks a lot about one of the. Let me ask you this that I had to cook up for this week had to do with the patriotism of immigrants, right? Because she talks about how like immigrants here are more patriotic and all this type of stuff, and how they're more law-abiding and they're more this.
Yes.
You're talking about two different groups of people. You're talking about people who immigrate here legally and people who cross the border and then expect asylum or some form of existence here. These are two completely different groups of people, right?
Totally different.
If you immigrate here, if you come here with papers, with legality, and you build a fucking life, and you then have children, you build an existence in which you're able to sustain and grow yourself.
Yes.
You are following the rules. You are in fact going to be more
100%.
patriotic because you have come here and found the greater opportunity that you were seeking, and you've grown upon that, right? You've built upon that. If you come here based off of illegality, from the start, you are breaking the law.
Yes.
You are not following the laws. If you are coming here, and
You
are,
start as a criminal. That's
Yes.
how that goes. You start as a criminal. And speaking as somebody that who has dealt directly with legal
Yes.
immigration, I will tell you right now, the sense of patriotism that comes with legal migrants is exponentially higher than anybody that's going to cross the border illegally
Yes.
because of the
Why? Tell us why.
because it's so fucking difficult to do it legally. Depending on where you're at in the country or in the world, you will spend years, if not over a decade, just being on the list to get in. And the entire time you're doing that, you're looking at the study guide for the citizenship test. You're envisioning America as this beautiful city on a hill with all these values and this, that, and the
Yes.
other thing. So by the time you actually get here, you're right off the bat, you're a fucking patriot right off the bat because you know what it is that you're trying to get to, and you've been doing it for years. You've put in the time, you've put in the effort, and you've paid the fucking money. You've done the interviews, you've done all the background checks and all the bullshit.
Right.
You want to be a part of this system.
Right.
Somebody that goes, I need to make more money. I'm going to go cross the border. I'm going to go pay a few $1,000s to this fucking coyote to smuggle me across that, and then I could just be in the system, and then
Right.
I can gain the American dream, aka just make money.
If you exist here undocumented, you might break less like daily laws, like you might break less traffic laws and stuff like that, you know. But your generalized existence is in breaking laws. All the shit that you do, making money, anything that you do is going to be with the air of illegality because the accessing of entitlement programs that you should by reasonable law have no access to,
Yeah.
right? Because of this extension through different states and stuff to illegal is insanity.
Yep.
You're basing your life off of an illegal status, this is not
Everything you do inherently then is a crime.
cuts directly
So-
against what she's saying.
Let's just say in a non-sanctuary city, if you show up to this country as a migrant and you need to get a driver's license, you need to show proof of citizenship. You need to show
Right.
a green card or a work permit or something to get a driver's license.
Some type of proof
And
of
then
address.
if you do not, if you are of illegal status and not in a sanctuary city where they'll just give you one because you show up and you say, my name is Greg, then
My name's Jeff.
my name's Jeff. I'm Jeff. Then inherently by driving around, by doing whatever it is, you are inherently breaking the fucking law.
Yeah.
All the time. Your existence at that point, because it would be
No
easy.
human being is illegal, Colin.
Oh, dude. If
The signs that got us here, bitch.
and you know, the really funny thing is, if this was like the truest, freest America that it probably should be, where every aspect of our life did not require government permission, you would be fine. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where you have to register the vehicle you drive with the state. You have to provide documentation to show that you're a citizen or a legal resident to get a driver's license. You have to show that you're a resident or a citizen to get to apply for a job.
You don't get less rules because you're not supposed to be here.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
But they do.
Yeah.
Because they operate outside the system. But unfortunately, if you're operating outside the system, that means you're breaking the law.
Unless you ask Krystal.
That means you are a criminal.
Yes.
You are a person who is illegal.
We can go to 1520.
Do I have to?
I think you'll enjoy it.
I do enjoy this a lot. 1520?
Yeah.
Action.
I ran on back in 2020. So I think electorally it's foolish. I think the other thing that happened, Sagaar, is because you did have these, I think the project of busing migrants into cities.
Oh, it was ingenious.
I think that was very effective because
It's
it is
effective,
true that, especially like a city like New York. Now, I think it's preposterous, the
Chicago.
idea that a gigantic city like New York, a city that in a very short period of time in the last century gained 30% of its population and is a city of immigrants, can't.
And also has lost a giant portion of their population from COVID.
Go just a little bit further.
Handle absorbing 100,000 plus immigrants. I think that's preposterous. But if people are coming with zero resources all at once and no work permits even to be able to provide for themselves, well, yeah, that is a drain on resources.
And they have pause. Okay, so the first thing that she said that's worth noting, right? It's ridiculous that a city as large as New York can't handle 100,000 people that come in a few short months and just deal with them completely, right? First of all, when Sagaar says this immediately afterwards, when you have right to shelter, whatever it's called, when it's literally illegal for the city to allow you to sleep on the streets, it is a problem because that's how you end up fucking groups of people sleeping in a gymnasium the same way they're trying to avoid homeless sleeping here. The thing we don't want, congregate shelters where it's just bodies in a building, that's what you end up with illegal immigrants.
Yep.
That's a problem, right? When cities are struggling to maintain a balanced budget and you add 100,000 people there that they are legally obligated to care for, it unbalances their budget. That fucks with the way that they have to do things next year. They have to borrow money. They have to get the money from somewhere theoretically, right? It's all fucking pipes. We all know that. But we have to stick with the logic if we're going to go this way, right? The money has to come from somewhere.
Yes.
It comes from somewhere.
It comes from us.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay. So this nonsense that it's if they come here with no money and no work permits, of course they're a drain on society. You have no right to be here. You don't belong here.
Yes.
No one told you to come here. You chose to come here and you did it illegally.
We have active laws in place that say you can't be here.
Yes. You have no right to be here. You have no right to a work permit so that you can kind of pay taxes and send some shit home. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the fucking rules work here.
Yep.
You are immediately a drain on society if you are coming here and you're immediately accessing entitlement programs.
Yes.
You are. If you're coming here and we're giving you a cell phone and money and a place to stay, you are in fact a drain on the society immediately. Mm-hmm. I don't care how shitty this sounds, how whatever. If your subsistence, if your life is sustained off of the taxpayers, you are immediately a drain on the economy. Immediately. And you're doing it illegally. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Is the reality of the situation. She's spinning a fucking line of bullshit to try and ingratiate herself or to try and make her views more appealing. I don't even understand what the deal is. It's just deception. It's just lies about what the truth is. And it doesn't make any sense. Joseph said, I don't know anyone who gets their news from breaking points. Why did Tim Pool have breaking points on his list of must listen to sources of information? Because we
Same
need
with
to hear
fucking
all
Joe
positions.
Rogan.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably reflective of the beginning, because in the beginning we said the same thing. When they first struck on themselves and when they were on the hill, when they were rising, they were fire. Super fucking fire. Lit. It's gone seriously downhill. The only way to make sense of the world is to hear the lies along with the truth. Make up your own mind, or your mind will be made up for you. Keep it open, my friends.
Yes.
They all said they're here because of and vote for F. Yes, precisely.
Yep.
Precisely.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, no, and you're right, Joseph. That's part of what we're trying to do here is the shit that you don't want to listen to, stuff like this. We'll take it in for you.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while we got to expose you to it because
Dude,
you're right.
my brain hurts every fucking week because I have to listen to a bunch of psycho nonsense.
Yeah.
Every fucking day. And I go, sometimes You have to go, you know what? Let's just have a good day today, and let's focus on some comedy podcasts, or let's listen to an audiobook. I'll hit it up double tomorrow, and I'll just hit 2 Breaking Points episodes back to back to back. I'll inhale all the NPR nonsense and the fucking, what is it, the ABC, NBC Up First?
Yep.
Oh, it's so bad, dude.
Up First is...
That's NPR.
Yeah,
Start here.
Start here.
I
Brad
listened to
all of it.
It's so fucking bad. But that's what we're here for. We'll do it for you.
Yes. So now we can go to 2410.
2410. Close enough. Action.
Well, are they going to leave? I mean, that's kind of the...
But here's the thing, just on a substantive level, that I genuinely
This is
don't
a good
understand,
one.
and I want to hear your analysis of. Republicans, we've covered this on the show a bunch of times, talk about...
Why doesn't she ever look at him?
She doesn't like him.
turned-
She doesn't like him.
This would be the equivalent, all right? So, like, people can see me. Like, if the camera is here, I'm looking at the camera,
Yeah.
but my co-host is here, and I'm going to go ahead and just turn this way
Right.
and not look at you, close my eyes, shuffle my papers, and then make my point to the fucking wall. Because that's not even my camera.
Right.
My camera's right fucking there.
Yeah.
I can look into it, but I don't do
so
that.
that I can face you. Yes.
I can't even face the goddamn camera, much less the person I'm actively debating.
Right. Sagaar's like looking straight at her. If you look, you can see him.
It's fearless, bro.
Yeah, he's
Fearless.
looking straight at her. You're only looking at the side of his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, what was this 20? We'll just go here again. Because
is, the status
he's
quo.
looking
Well,
right
if you
at
give
her.
somebody a work permit and you don't deport them, that basically is amnesty, because when the hell are they going to leave? I mean, that's kind of the...
Boom.
But here's the
Based.
thing,
Yeah.
just on a
makes a
substantive
lot
level,
of
that I
fucking
genuinely
singers in
don't
this one,
understand,
dude.
and I want to hear your analysis
All
of.
right, here.
Republicans, we've covered this on the show a bunch of times, talk about, all these people who are leaving New York, going to Texas, going to Florida.
this one.
And that's seen as like, that internal migration is seen as like, I think justifiably so, terrible for New York and terrible for California and fantastic for Texas and fantastic for Florida. But suddenly when it's people who are coming from outside the country, even though they're also just human beings, and by the way, immigrants, like some of the clearly like hardest working and oftentimes most patriotic people you could possibly meet.
Did you hear it? Did you hear the way that she's got a few more seconds, but that's what I'm talking about is she flips immediately. You're not talking about fucking people who are coming here to earn a living and to like, who are coming here legally through the process, through all the shit. You're talking about people who are claiming amnesty and are maybe going to live here for a few years, maybe if they ever get deported, and then it just exists here forever.
Yeah.
What do you're not talking about the same groups of people. She's
No.
intentionally conflating the things so that she can try and make her point, even
They're
though
all
she
just,
knows
they're
that she's
all
lying.
humans.
They're all just human beings.
Come on now.
Suddenly when they're coming from out of the country, when they come to New York, it's like, oh my God, this is terrible for New York. So how is it that people leaving is bad, but also people coming is bad?
It's a philosophical...
Quit
difference.
pausing.
Oh my God.
I'll ask you what you asked me. What's the difference, right? What's the difference between people moving from California to Texas and somebody coming here from fucking
El Salvador.
Guatemala, El Salvador,
Venezuela.
and choosing to come across the border illegally, claim asylum, and then live here until maybe their asylum claim is adjudicated?
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
For one,
They're all just people.
the first group are American citizens who have the freedom to move about the country in any manner they so
what?
choose. That's that's a major one. They all are quote unquote documented, if you will. We were all born with a fucking government number attached to our name that follows us through our entire lives, where we get jobs, and no matter what job we're working, we have to pay a portion of it to the fucking Fed and the state or the city, depending on where you're fucking living and what you're doing. That's the key difference right there. And the fact that, yeah, if you are a citizen and you fall in hard times, you might have to tap social services, which you have paid into
Right.
your entire working life, I might add, versus if you just show up here and have no resources and no assistance, you can go immediately on government assistance. You're now an immediate burden on the taxpayer. That's the major issue.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I was born and raised here. I went to school saying, I don't want to, this. It sounds bad to say this, but I went to school saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and I joined the military and do all.
We've paid our dues to the state.
We've paid our dues to the state, and I am patriotic because I have been born and raised in this country, and I know I know what this country is and what it's supposed to be and what it means and where the values lie, versus somebody that just showed up here yesterday and it's like, I'm looking for work.
Right.
That's way different. There's a massive difference. But the internal migration has nothing to do with this question of illegal migration. People coming in, people going out. Yeah, I thought we were all human beings, bro. You're just saying we're all numbers,
right?
Is what you're saying at this point. No, what the problem is that New York City and New York State has become such a fucking shithole because of the bullshit policies, all of which you approve of, that it became untenable for us to fucking live there during the COVID tyranny and everything else, that we decided, a good group of people decided to internally migrate down to more freer states where they don't have to deal with as much tyranny as they were living in before. That's the major difference. It's not numbers going in, numbers going out. It's good, it's bad.
Right.
No. Texas and Florida are better off now because they have a bigger tax base because their population has increased. It's going to get worse because all those people that left there are still probably going to vote for some bullshit. And goodbye, Florida. I love that Florida became this nice Republican fucking safe haven over the last like 4 or 5 years, but that's about to go away because all the psycho fucking path liberals that just moved down from New York City, that's all going to change in a few years when the COVID tyranny shit all fucking levels out. You're still going to get all those people that have those like base progressive values. That's still going to implement themselves in the politics, and it's going to go back to being a purple state just like it always has been. Like, but the comparison she's making to people in, people out is nonsense, because you're not talking about American citizens moving into different states.
Right.
There's not a vast group of Californians that decided to relocate to New York City. That's not what happened.
Not to mention that if you're moving from one state to another, you almost certainly have either a good amount of money or a job that you're going to when you get there.
Yes.
So you're almost definitely not going to go and be an immediate drain on whatever economy you're moving to.
Yes.
If you are coming here, like you said, with no money and with no job, no ability to work, you, like you said, are immediately in a drain on that economy.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is,
Yeah.
is that
And
you don't need to be supported by that city, by that
Exactly.
state, whereas if you come here from somewhere else, then you do, and you are.
And
That's why it's good and not good.
the really ironic thing is too, even if you were somebody that had like buku credentials from your previous country, and then chose to illegally come here and go to New York City, we're like, well, I used to be an engineer in El Salvador or Venezuela or whatever, and I'm super smart and I got all this, got all that. Well, guess what happens when you move to a super progressive city like New York City? You don't have all the required American credentials that can transfer over, and so you are effectively somebody that moves here with zero skills. Even if you have the skills, you don't have the credentials to show that you do, because we become such a credentialized society, especially in these progressive strongholds. So it's a lose-lose every fucking which way you cut it. It doesn't really matter. The point she's making has zero basis in reality, as per the usual. But and you know, she's so smug. Just look at her face in this one. It's a tough screenshot, I know, but also it really speaks to what she's talking about. Oh God, who's bringing up Nick Fuentes? Of course, Joseph's bringing up Nick Fuentes.
What's he saying?
He says, I make up my own mind. I don't 100% agree with anyone. Crowder is the closest to my personal view, but sorry, but it's not identical to his views. If that makes sense. I haven't had a philosophical difference in opinion with Nick. Nick Fuentes is probably going to be a better representation of my opinions very shortly. I haven't listened to him enough to know for sure yet. I don't like Nick Fuentes, but that's fine.
About him.
I'm not a fan. Do we have more from Krystal, or are we moving to the next one?
We're going to 27-23.
Man, that was nice. You got like a 3-minute break there for a second.
They're all pretty close together. There's a couple where
Well,
I'm like,
she
should I
talks
just make
a
this
lot.
one big fucking, I'm like, no, cut it up.
I mean, let's be realistic. We've did we did like a 26-minute full breakdown, I think, last time, and it took us over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So this would have been half the show today if we just did this whole thing.
So they don't
But
deserve
hold on,
anything.
Sagaar. Think about.
They don't deserve anything.
Okay, put aside who deserves what, et cetera, et cetera. Just think about the best interests of the country. Like, it's very clear that some level of immigration, and you can see it again when we're talking about internal migration, is very good for local economies.
Stop. Okay.
What?
You cannot, when looking at any influence of illegal migration or external migration, compare that to internal migration. There's zero. There's zero similarity between the two whatsoever. An American citizen, or even an American green card holder, moving from state to state, has nothing in common with somebody coming from Venezuela to New York. There's there's nothing at all you can compare that to, except for it's a person going from point A to point B. There is zero substance you can gain from that when it comes to effect on U.S. policy, U.S. economics, anything like that. Somebody that is moving, a legal resident and citizen of the United States, moving from Washington State to California, from California to Texas. You cannot compare the impact on the overall nation to somebody coming from a separate nation into this nation, regardless of which state they land in. So I'm already done listening because she's a fucking idiot. She's trying to make a comparison here that has nothing to do with anything. Am I off base there? No.
And you know what? What we have seen as a nation of immigrants is that in these subsequent waves of immigration, some of the hardest working people, most family-oriented people, et cetera,
Absolutely.
and more law-abiding, by the way, are immigrants.
Depends on the type, but yes.
Nope, not
Yes.
true.
They're so law-abiding that their simple presence here breaks the law.
Yes.
Yeah, they're super law-abiding.
You look overall, immigrant populations more law-abiding than native-born citizens, not to mention, yes, when they first come and they're learning the language and they're new, et cetera, and they're bringing their cultures, we all know what the next generation looks like. They just look like Americans. Their kids are going to speak English. They're going to be 100% American.
Well,
Because they were born here. I don't know what kind of point she's trying to make here, because it's nonsense to me. The people that come here, so her base assumption that all migration is the same is not correct.
It's all the same, Colin. They're all
not
just human beings.
The same. And it drives me insane that, like, immigration itself is a good thing. Word. I'm on the Eric Weinstein train. I'm a xenophilic. No, how does he say? I like legal immigration. Big fan of that. A lot of perks to be had from that, right? I want more legal immigration. I'm into that. We need the numbers. Cool. There's a lot of really smart motherfuckers out there that believe in freedom, that are in oppressed nations, that want to come to America and live freer lives, that are coming and going to do better for America by coming here. Super down with that. There's a lot of people out there that are just, they believe in our American values.
Nick, the Virginia State delegate. That's not Nick Fuentes, the Nazi guy.
Friedis.
Nick Friedis.
Sorry, Joseph. I was really off base there. My bad.
I wasn't looking at the chat, so I didn't. I wasn't looking at the chat. I was just listening to what you were saying.
Damn,
That's hilarious. Listen, it's okay.
I don't know anything about Nick Friedis. I got to look into that.
So we talked about him a little bit last time.
Did we?
Yes, you do disagree with us, me. You agree with Colin all the time, which is not a bad thing.
It's because me and Joseph are
You
homies.
fucking keep me going sometimes, Joseph. No, let him go for a minute because Sagaar gets pretty basic here too.
Well, it depends. Look, George Borjas, who works over at Harvard University, has done a 2017 fantastic study which shows that mass illegal immigration largely depresses wages for lower class Americans. So that's number one. I would say the empirical data is pretty set on this in terms of the laws of supply and demand. But number two, again, is a deep philosophical difference. I think that the net migration level that we should have over the next 30 years should be zero. And this is my case again, and look, people will be like, how can a guy, son of Indian immigrants, by the way, my mom vehemently disagrees with me if anybody wants to know. And she also votes, so she can vote the way that she wants, if people want to know. I'll tell you, which is that in the 1919s and the teens, we had a hyphenated American crisis, very similar to the one that we have here. Mass internal strife, complete differences of opinion. People speaking German, people speaking Italian. They had dual loyalty to their old countries, as we saw during the First World War. It was a huge problem. We had a massive foreign-born population, equivalent only to today. Internal strife was solved one way. We dramatically lowered the level of immigration. We let people assimilate into the country. And for the next 40 to 50 years, we had very, very little immigration. Now, that is my case for us becoming a cohesive nation, which can have a true national identity, and one where the foreign-born population, where it is currently at an all-time high, should not continue to be higher with a orderly process. I will also say many Indians will be pissed off at what I'm saying, because I'm also claiming that legal immigration should go to net zero. And I strongly believe it, because I do believe that our current sovereignty and internal politics is so divisive, largely because we do not relate to one another whatsoever. And
that really has nothing to do.
Okay.
I think that's a fucking great point.
That's a great point, right? And that
Super solid reasoning too, for like a very solid justification for like, damn, that's a good point,
point.
dog. It's a good case for fucking net zero immigration.
well, because what he's talking about is it's generational.
Yeah.
He's talking about people coming in, first generation, right off the boat. You hang
talked
out,
about
you're
the three
still doing your
generations before.
thing, and then all of a sudden, by the time your parents who immigrated to this country get old, they die off. You've lived here your entire life, or the vast majority of it. So you are now an American at this point. That has a lot of good. You retain all your cultural value and all this stuff, but you are essentially assimilated in as an American.
Right.
And then you carry on and live your American lifestyle, and you start wearing a suit and tie and talking about American politics on the fucking internet. Yes, that absolutely happens. The generation of that's first generation, right? People that initially migrate here. It's
Yeah.
first generation. They never fully assimilate, ever.
No, a lot of
Damn
them
near
never,
ever.
like, right, they speak two English or two
Yeah.
Englishes, two languages most of
languages.
the time they're here. Like,
Yeah.
that's some of them don't ever fully speak English.
Exactly.
That's, like Carolina's mom. She
Yes.
speaks English, but
Oh, yeah.
it
Kinda,
took
sort
me,
of.
But it took me meeting her multiple times before she would even talk to me and not
Yep.
just use Carolina to translate,
Yeah.
you know?
And their whole family it's the same kind of way. Everybody that grew up here, minus she's the most American because
Yeah.
she came here the youngest, but like even her brothers and all
spent
that
most
stuff
time here.
you can tell that there's a lot of South America still in there, like a lot of the way they view the world, versus somebody that, their kids from now, if they have kids in the future, will just be fully indoctrinated into the American society that they grew up in. They'll retain a lot of their cultural background and then carry that forward in an American framework and go forward and do good things. And that's the way it works. But you never fully lose your, how would I say this? You never fully lose your birthright. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
if I was born in Ukraine and Michael Malice, born in fucking Ukraine in the Soviet Union, he's never fully going to be able to shake all of that off, but he came over here at like fucking 6 years old. So he's
Right.
99% got American values, and he's base as shit, but it's still like, if he was to have kids, those kids would be fully indoctrinated into whatever the American society is at the time and be able to be here cohesively. We saw it during the Civil War. Massive racial issues, Italians, Irish, German.
And he talks a little bit about
all
that, I
that
think,
stuff.
yeah.
He did. He mentioned all that kind of stuff, but it takes a while, so it takes a generation. So like they came in a lot, and then like during the 19 teens, as he was saying, it was the same type of deal. Massive migration, and then a total stop.
Yeah.
As the previous generation kind of took their time, died out, and then you didn't have a problem anymore.
And I
we
think-
already have enough social disconnect at this point, just amongst
Right.
Americans already. All this is going to be doing it. I mean, it's a much broader point at that point, but like the implication of what's happening with 10 million new potential citizens thrown into the work of our society is going to drastically, it's going to put a lot of strain on an already strained and divided society.
Right. And I think if you're not doing any type of like historical research or even reading, right, then any of this stuff is going to seem completely foreign. Like you're not going to even have any concept for this being a reality in America. That at one point in time, this was in fact.
We haven't just been doing this our whole life. This is not the whole thing.
But it's been this way for quite some time. You know, enough for. I don't want to say an Overton window shift because we're still talking about different things, but the way that we conceptualize immigration is in a very narrow scape. And so it's people don't. I think you're correct about the assimilation thing because, and you hear from Krystal Ball that this isn't America. You know, it's a nation of immigrants and slaves. That's how people are describing it now. So it's just a nation of immigrants. It's just a nation of immigrants. Also, most of the people who live here are from here. Most of the people who live here are from here.
Yes.
Yes, our ancestors did come from somewhere else because this
But they don't live here anymore.
This country
They're
is
dead.
only 400 years old.
Yes.
It's not
even.
That's what I'm saying. It's only for that. I'm rounding up, obviously, but it's only 400 years old. It's not that old. I'm talking about from the time that people
Got
established
here.
here to
Which is when it started.
Naturally, that's not that many generations of people.
No, dude.
Of course, we are technically right.
That's 4 or 5 people ago.
In theory, we are a nation of immigrants.
Yeah.
I was born here. My grandmother came here from a different country. Both of them did. They're Americans.
Word.
They both. One of them is alive. The other one is dead. They are both American citizens. That's how that works. They came here from somewhere else. They are Americans now. The perception even of like what that means is very odd, and it's totally skewed from people because they don't identify with being here. They're thinking about the homeland. They're thinking about other shit. They're not focused on American values. If you say America first, you're racist. That's how they're perceiving that.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about your home. We're talking about you, where you live. We want your place to be the best, better, because you're from here, because that's what we want.
Yes.
We're all from here. This is our home. This isn't about white people. It's not about immigrants or and it's about people who belong to America.
Yes.
That's what that means.
And it's a very, very, very good point, is that the language gets so skewed when they're talking about this. Because, yes, America is a nation of immigrants, right? But the immigrants were generational.
Yes.
Like, immigrants showed up, they had kids, those kids had kids, those kids had kids, so on and so forth. It's generations of immigrants that have gone back.
Yes.
The level of immigration not everybody in America is an immigrant.
Right. She said something.
Most people in America are Americans that came from an immigrant that came here at some point. And then we became Americans, and then our kids are all Americans. Boom, boom, boom. It's like it's an exponential build.
Yeah.
But yes, how it started, we all came on a boat. Somebody came on a boat from somewhere, and then it became on the plane, blah, blah, blah. But
she said
at the end of the day,
earlier when she was talking about New York, about that being a city of immigrants, you know, and that's the same deal. Like, there are a lot of immigrants that live there. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The vast majority of people
confirm.
The vast majority of people who live there are American citizens.
Yes.
The vast majority, because you can't have a fucking city that large where most of the people don't belong here.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. That's not how any of this works.
Yes.
Most of the people in New York are in fact American citizens, or at least hold some form of documentation that allows them to be here legally.
yes.
This is not the same thing. A
Exactly.
city of immigrants does not mean there's no fucking white people there. Does not mean there's no American citizens there. That isn't what that means.
No, that means it's a group. It's a city
It means
filled
on the
of,
coast is what it means.
It's not, well, and it's not just on the coast, but it's so wherever there's a concentration of legalized immigrants, there's going to be more legal immigrants that
Yes.
come because of chain migration, how that works. You get a family member that gets documentation, gets approved, moves up. They sponsor other people of their family to be able to come up and then move in. And then you have, this is why New York City there's blocks of nationalities,
Right.
which has
Boroughs.
has a lot of fucking perks of it, man. A lot of perks, man. Go to Queens, you can have the best, like, actual Chinese food in the world. And it's not like, there ain't no fucking General Tso's chicken if you walk into that place. there's Ethiopians. There's, I mean, it's every nationality, every culture you could think of. There are neighborhoods that exists, and you go there because of the way our migration system works, chain migration. Somebody moves up, their family members eventually move up, their family members eventually move up, bing, bang, boom, but then they slowly all become U.S. citizens, and then they have kids, and they intermarry, and they do society. That's what happens, right? And then eventually they all just become Americans, and so you can safely say that New York City is a city of immigrants, but at the same time, they're also majority Americans, legalized citizens of America, who follow the laws, pay their taxes, assimilate with our broader American culture. And that's the way it is. But it's just wherever there are previous immigrants, you're going to have more first generational immigrants coming in because of the way our migration system works. So that's how you can say that factually, but then still be wrong about the point you're trying to make, because New York City is not flooded on let's just say, when I lived there,
Right
New
now
York
it is,
City
but it's
was not flooded with illegal migrants. It was flooded with legal migrants, and most of them were like second or third generation at that point. And so, like, it's not, the point she's trying to make is not valid. It might be factually true, but it's not true in reality.
Right.
If that's, I don't think I'm saying that the right way.
Let's
but
hit these comments really quick.
Okay.
Tiffany said, we need to care for our own before we allow more people in. The homeless, the mentally ill, all of our people. My legal immigrated relatives never fully assimilated. They were also further separated from citizens because they felt we should have learned their language, not the other way around. If you want to know more about Nick, this is Joseph. If you want to know more about Nick, I'll tell you to watch his episode on the Roman Empire. Remember the trend of women asking their men how often they think about the Roman Empire? Start there. Tiffany, in my experience, it takes two generations to get our values adopted into those families. I think that's a good
generation. Yeah, I think generally.
We've talked about the 2 to 3 generation thing. I think the first time we talked about 3 generations was in American impacts in foreign countries. And it takes 3 generations for them to not fucking want to kill us because we have fucked around in their country. And it's the same general concept for here. It takes 2 or 3 generations of a normalized good lifestyle in America for you to not really feel any hostilities or any dog shit towards us, you know?
Sorry, here we go.
No, you're fine. And then Joseph said, you will or won't seek more content from his podcast. He is long-winded and has thought-out opinions. Yeah. So the next one that I have is from 3030, and we're at 2957, so you could just let it play. It's 33.
With
the
immigration.
third world
I mean,
is just not going to work.
Even if you look at, like, the political divide has never been actually less racially polarized than it is right now.
Pause there.
And in fact, Republicans are
No, wait. Let her go. Let her go for a minute.
winning. This is the other thing with all this, like, great replacement. Oh, they want to bring in all these immigrants just so they can vote for Democrats. Like, that's actually happening less and less.
Let's
And
still vote
Republicans
64.
Republicans love to brag about how they're winning over this population, but also fearmonger about how they could never win this population. So that's another part of the conversation that I think makes absolutely no sense and is utterly ridiculous. The divide in this country, yeah, some are, there are some racial divisions, but increasingly we're actually less polarized among racial lines. And,
Then what have we been doing since 2020?
What?
What have we been doing? What was all the George Floyd about? What was all of the bullshit about for the last 4 fucking years? All the equity, all the dog shit, all the DEI, all the fucking nonsense.
All the oppression, bro. So much oppression.
If racial lines are pretty much okay, what the fuck has all of this been about then? What are we still doing if everything is pretty much okay?
Since 2012?
Are you lying then or are you lying now? Do you really believe this? If you do, then say that, because you would be denouncing BLM. You'd be denouncing all this dog shit that's coming out here, fucking up everybody's lives and affecting the way fucking children learn in a school because it's a government environment. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
what has all of this been about then?
That is a hard misspeak on her point, because her career is built off of fucking, the racial segregation and oppression towards other races, and there's a Disney thing I'm going to pull up later, I think. The unrepresented classes, which are, it's all code for racial lines. Underrepresented, thank you very much. And that's, all you ever fucking talk about.
Yes.
That's all she talks about on this
Yes.
fucking show is the unrepresented minorities and this and that and the other thing. Fuck off, Krystal. You're trying now to backtrack on everything that you claim you stand for to try to make a point.
Yes.
Fuck you.
Let her go some more.
I hate
She's
her.
going to talk about the
I would,
Holocaust.
I would
Yes.
wager, and I think most people would agree,
This is
that
it.
ultimately the country was much better for those waves of Irish and Italian and Polish and German immigrants. I mean, that's part of what has made this country what it is. And I don't see this new wave of migrants coming from a different part of the world in any different way. So listen, is there a limit to how much we can, bring in at one time?
Why can you not look at the person?
She hates him. She doesn't like him.
I cannot stand this.
She doesn't
dude.
actually like him.
Why would you go into business with somebody like this? Because you're a fucking piece of shit shill?
Time, just again, practically, if you flood the zone with a whole bunch of new people and that creates housing, that there's problems. I'm not going to say that there's you can just bring in the whole world and it's not going to cause an issue. But I do think that there's something fundamentally broken in a logic that would say, it's very clear when a place like the industrial Midwest empties out and these towns are decaying and people are fleeing. It's very clear that's a bad thing. It's very clear when it's New York and people are leaving New York that that's a bad thing. But then somehow when it's other people who are coming in, which in a different scenario, if they, came from a different country, a different part of the world, you say, this is great, this is wonderful. Somehow that's terrible. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't.
Okay. All right.
What?
I have to take a second here.
What's your
because
problem?
I have no idea what the fuck she's trying to say right now.
She doesn't
She's
know.
talking about people leaving the Midwest because of factories closing and this, that.
That's not happening.
Well, first of all, that happened a long time ago, and for reasons that had absolutely nothing to do with fucking migration. And if a bunch of Venezuelans were decided to go to the Midwest now to take up those factory jobs, you know what's not there? Those fucking factory jobs. Because all the factories closed down because people like you and your progressive fucking bullshit decided to come in and say, we can't be doing this anymore. We have to send all those jobs overseas. You're mixing and matching all this bullshit. None of what she's saying right now makes any logical sense whatsoever. She's just looking at numbers here, numbers there, numbers moving here, numbers moving there. She has no context to anything she's talking about. She is so far off base right now. She has no context to what she's actually talking about. None of what she's saying makes any logical sense whatsoever.
No.
None whatsoever.
I don't think that the studies back up. The studies show that if you have a massive undocumented illegal workforce, that can be a problem for wages. Actually, documented immigrants, the overwhelming majority of studies show it's actually good for, it's neutral
just
on
document
wages.
them, bro? Is that where we're at now?
In general, is good for the economy and
documents,
helps
bro.
for the thriving of that local area. So that's why, again, I'm not open borders, just, let's have an unlimited number. But I think we can handle a lot more than we have. I think it'd be good for all kinds of people, all kinds of parts of the country. And I also just think it's fundamentally goes against some core American values, this complete attack on the asylum process and this idea that we don't care if you're being persecuted. We don't care if you fear for your lives. We don't care if you're a Jew trying to escape Nazi Germany or whatever.
Well, that's not fair.
That's
is.
not
If
fair.
you're ending the
These
asylum
people are not.
process, it is.
These people are not fleeing Holocaust.
Yeah, but
okay?
no, but some people no.
They're fleeing
not bring
gang
that up,
violence.
Krystal.
Yeah,
By the way,
but hold on.
Okay.
But if you end the asylum,
Oh, but hold on. She's
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I know I'm comparing Venezuelan
Yes.
migrants and Ethiopian migrants and Chinese migrants, which don't let me even factor that in. And it's akin to, if I was a Jew leaving the Holocaust. No, it's not. If you want to talk about, I don't even want to go there. I don't want to go there because I'm going to get too upset. But it's not at all what we're talking about here. You cannot make the Jews in the Holocaust comparison when we're talking about the current
You
condition
wouldn't
on the
help them.
fucking southern border. I mean, you want to talk about if there was a gang of Chinese nationals that were trying to flee oppression from the CCP, we could probably talk about some asylum claims. You want to talk about a gang of Ethiopians coming over here? I'm sorry. There's a million other countries you can go to. I don't understand what is happening here. Anybody that crosses the border illegally that just says, I claim asylum because I'm being persecuted by my home country. What are we talking about? Everybody's being persecuted. I'm being persecuted in my own fucking country. What are you actually talking about? What persecution are you dealing with that is on a level akin to that's not akin to mine?
It's all the same, Colin.
We just blanket it all out. Everything's just, it's all the same. Persecution's persecution, bro. Don't worry. Yeah, oppressor, oppressee. It's all just this Marxist bullshit doctrine, whatever. None of this makes sense to me whatsoever. I don't know what to do here, Donovan.
She
I
has
am
no idea what
dying.
she's talking about.
It's so, to the point she had to go Jewish Holocaust fleeing the Nazis to justify illegal migration on the southern border today.
Yes.
That's the point you have to get to. Your arguments are so foundationless. You have to go to, well, I mean, the argument you're making is like we wouldn't accept the Jews fleeing the Holocaust. What is wrong with you, man? Just accept that you're fucking wrong and try to listen and learn something, for God's sakes.
Let's go to 3440.
3440. What are you doing to me, man? And I know this is the third time you've had to deal with this, but this is my second. I'm already struggling.
Not overwhelm the entire country, but we should in general see it as a good thing that people want to come to the United States of America and still see it as the land of opportunity.
You should see it as a land of opportunity. It should be. It should be a land of opportunity for people who live here and people who are natural born U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents.
But that's the thing is like you see this as a zero-sum game, and it's not. It's not.
Like I said, there's a lot of data to back it up. Now, in terms of the difference between the Irish and the German is we were a rapidly industrializing economy which needed cheap labor. I would also say that a lot of people who were natural born hated the Irish and the Germans with some good reason because they were depleting their wages and were willing to work for much.
Yeah, have we ever seen Gangs of New York? Jesus Christ, bro. That is 100% a thing that happened. People we hated the mix and we hated the wops. That was the thing that I mean, I was a German, so like when my family immigrated over here, we were primarily Germans at that point. But that was the thing that happened for a long time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of racial disdain towards a bunch of white folks that were here because of they were either Irish or Italian or whatever, and everything was really, really shitty for a long time. I have a hard time trying to rationalize any of her arguments the way she's presenting them. None of them, they're hard to argue because none of them make any sense whatsoever. They're not tied to anything. I just don't, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Less than they were, and they were driving around their overall wages, which led to major labor disputes even within unions at the time. So that played out 100 years ago, but that was 100 years ago, and we can say what it is. Today, we are not a rapidly industrializing economy or a rapidly deindustrializing economy. We don't need a lot of cheap labor. The predominant amount of cheap labor that does come here and ends up work in places like home health care space, they end up depressing wages in places like construction and others. And there's also, we have a housing supply issue. I mean, like where are these people going to live? But then, look, this is why I don't even like to have an economic argument as much. It's about process and it's about legality. For example, and you're using the ones about El Salvador, why is it fair that we invaded Iraq and Iraqis can't just walk here? Don't they have more right to live here than anyone in El Salvador? I would say, yeah, absolutely.
I would let them in
too. But it's not fair because they can't walk here.
Let them in too, she says.
Yes.
Do have special programs for, I think Iraqis, but definitely Afghan interpreters as well who helped us.
Work with us,
absolutely.
Not any Afghani out of the goat field. I mean, what are we doing?
Her response is, we have special programs for people who worked with us. Okay. Do you know how fucking hard it is for them to actually get over here? Very difficult.
Yeah, it involves fucking Tim Kennedy and Jocko and all the people going over there
for the fucking Taliban until they get here. You dumb bitch. You literally don't know what you're talking about. You're just pulling any information you can out of your brain and trying to put it out there like it's going to make your fucking point for you. That means nothing.
Stop,
a program
dude.
where maybe 1,000 Afghanis who aided us during a war will get to come here as a reward. That is not the same thing as fucking immigration, dude. That's a reward. You get to be an American now because you hooked us up. You get to come here now. We'll give you all the privileges. That is not immigration. It's a fucking reward.
And you get to come here because not only did you work with us, but now if you were to stay there, the current government that we let come in is going to fucking murder you and all of your family. That's an asylum claim if I've ever fucking heard one. Not we allowed fucking the Maduro regime to continue to reign on, and we didn't try to overthrow our own government who were systematically keeping us down and exploiting us. And no. It's the same. Basically, in her mind, it's the same. The Iraqi interpreter is the same as a standard Venezuelan economic migrant.
She says something, and we can pause this here, and we'll go to the next one after this. She said something about it being a zero-sum game. She's like, "You're acting like it's a zero-sum game, and it's not." Okay,
what's a zero-sum game?
She's talking about like a finite amount of jobs and stuff that that are here. She's like, it's not a fixed number. It kind of is.
Kind of is.
It does change, but also they don't just make new jobs because there's more people.
Yes.
That isn't how the job market works.
So let's do it.
There's
Houses.
a fixed number to the extent that it fluctuates by the market, not by the demand. That's
Indeed.
like it is tied to it, but that is not the driving force behind it because there
demand only raises prices. It
Yes.
doesn't necessarily
Yes.
increase supply.
And it's the same thing with jobs. If there's more people who need jobs, there's just less pay to go around because they can pay people less money. That doesn't make it more jobs. That isn't how it works.
That's not how
Eventually-
supply and demand
no,
works.
Eventually they equal
Maybe in
out. But
communism.
eventually they equal out over time with no other fluctuations in the system if it works its way out.
Yes.
But if it continues to change, it doesn't work that way. And when you're talking about, again, like she talked about earlier, people coming here immediately getting on the system, it is a zero-sum game because you're not adding, you're only taking away. There is a bar you need to reach here.
Yes.
And the point that Sagaar made earlier is the same thing that Joseph is saying now. We are not at a place in our society where we need just a bottom bar, zero cost cheap labor.
No.
We don't need that now.
don't need that.
Isn't where we're at.
That's
We
not
need
in high
people-
demand.
No, we are trying to spin the economy back up to make shit again. And that's not on the production level. We're spinning up. We need design. We need people who are making things on a research and development level. We need people who are operating and fucking designing things, creating industry. We don't need people working in the industry. There's plenty of fucking plebes to work here. Plenty of fucking people to take up regular jobs.
Yes.
That is not what our economy demands from immigration right now.
Yes, the lowest skill level jobs are not the jobs that are in demand. The jobs that are in demand are the high skill level jobs. I know for a fact because I tried to hire these people. I searched for years and years to try to find highly qualified, trained professionals in the construction industry, right?
Yes.
And it got to the point where I was recruiting people to come over from other countries, in which case my company would sponsor them to come over here to get a job so that it's not the low skill level labor that needs to be filled. We have that. There's lots of people to do that. It's the high skill level jobs that need to be filled. But even aside from that, you say we're
Because all
spinning
of our
up.
college students don't actually have any skills.
Of course, of course they don't. They have an education. They don't have any skills, and their education is questionable. But part of this problem is the U.S. government getting in the way of our society's growth. We have a problem with innovation in this country because it's cost prohibitive to start a new factory, to start a new industry, to create a manufacturing career. There's so much red tape and bullshit you have to go through. You can't even make products that are going to be sold in the United States most of the time. There's a good goddamn reason why all of our manufacturing base is overseas.
Yes.
Because a t-shirt would cost $35 fucking dollars. And you know that by going to Breaking Point's fucking website and trying to order any of their fucking merch, who thanks to Krystal's involvement, insists that it's U.S. made, union made merch. And so you buy a coffee cup, it's about $30 for a coffee mug. You want a t-shirt, $35. Don't ask me where that t-shirt actually was manufactured, but when they did the screen printing and shit, it was done in America. And even that is going to be $35 a pop. There's a reason why we cannot spin up lower level manufacturing jobs or anything like that. And it's because the government is in the fucking way of it. Her goddamn government, I might add, that added all these worker protections and a bunch of bullshit. This is her goddamn doing. People like her. And so that people like her created the situation in which we are finding ourselves in now, and she's arguing that they have to maintain their their policies because it's humanitarian or whatever the fuck. It's better off for everybody in the long run, when we know for a fact that's not even close to the truth. So let's do, what is it? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but the hierarchy of needs for a human being. What do we need to survive? We need shelter, housing.
Water.
How's the housing market?
Dog shit.
Dog shit already. Let's add another 10 million people to that housing market, and we'll see how things go. You know how difficult it is to buy a house, build a fucking house?
Right.
That's going to be better with 10 million more people looking for fucking houses. That's going to be great.
Who
Food.
can only rent. They're not going to be able to buy a
No.
house. So.
No. So that just means because the demand goes higher, the supply is lagging. The price point to get in will go up because demand is higher. The supply stays the same.
Right.
Or the rate of increase in supply stays the same. So all it does is raise prices. So you're hurting everybody, including these people that you're insisting on are coming in, because they won't be able to afford it, much less the people that are already here. Food, same thing. If there's more demand on the food supply, we're already kind of at a problem with our food supply already. We dealt with it during the fucking COVID shutdown, the supply chain issues. All that's going to do is increase prices and make more. There's going to be less stuff on the shelves if more people are looking for it. Water, same problem. Climate change, drought, this, that, and the other thing. So what you're saying is that we should have 10 million more people just come in and take up that much more water?
It'll be better.
That sounds good. What else? Food, water, shelter, electricity? Yeah. That's good.
Just don't charge your electric cars at all.
Don't charge your electric car ever again, especially in California. Like I think it was like the #1 state for illegal migrants last year. Pretty sure. I think we're in the top 10 for sure. Washington State is. I have a chart for that later on. But
spent a bunch of COVID money housing illegal immigrants. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Have been since COVID happened.
Yeah, $1,000 checks. That's how that went.
Balling.
But what I'm saying is she's factually wrong.
Yes.
On every single level.
Yes.
But that's okay because money grows on trees and nothing actually matters other than that. What's the next one? Or are we still
Nope.
rolling?
The next one is 39.
39.
Arguing that we should just like let an unlimited number in. I just think the focus only on restrictionism. And here's the other thing that I'll say is there's this assumption that the more cruel and restrictive you are at the border, number one, the more orderly it's going to be. That's not true because almost definitely the more that you're squeezing the number of actual legal migrants, the more you're going to have illegal migrants because these are not people who are like casually leaving their homes. They have real reasons and are not going to be and haven't shown any deterrence based on the cruelty at the border or the restrictionist policies at the border. I'll give you a perfect example.
If you were physically unable to cross the border, there would be no squeeze on the increase. I mean, I've stated my piece about walls. I'm not super in love with walls because walls can just as easily be used to keep people in as to keep people out. Right now, the problem is keeping people out. Well, that could be stopped. It's Texas has shown it. You can do it. So maybe don't use that as your argument point because like the squeeze on illegal migration being caused by a lowering in legal migration, you could stop the illegal migration with physical borders.
Don't say that.
You could do it. Like it would be easy. You could definitely do it. So that's a really bad point.
After Trump instituted the child separation policy with these dramatically cruel images, I mean, some of the most...
Which was also not Trump's policy. That was a ruling passed in the Flores Agreement during the Obama era. So that is not...
policy.
So it was an Obama era policy that came from a legal precedent set by then, and all Trump did was follow the fucking law. My bad.
Listen, don't
My bad.
fucking add reason to this, okay?
It's
not what we're doing on Breaking Points today.
Like cruel imagery you could possibly imagine coming out, the number of migrants actually went up. there has been no evidence that the more you crack down at the border, that it actually serves as a deterrent effect and people don't come. That simply has not worked out in history. So even if your
trying
goal
real
is
hard
like,
to
let's
make a
keep
point.
people away,
Little hand up there.
the restrictionist direction isn't effective for that.
The counter to that is that the reason they started coming back is because Trump caved and he actually went away from family separation.
That is
And
true.
And they
based-
didn't actually close the fucking border. That's-
Never.
people still just can come here. That's if there's no deterrent, like if it's only an emotional deterrent to come here, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And so the goal changes from okay, find BBP to just get into the country. Just avoid them at all costs and just fucking get into the country.
Just get in here, then you're fine.
Yeah. So
Who cares?
it's at the comments.
Yep.
Kevin said, we need creators, not art creators either. I went to college, got a degree, didn't use it at all. Now I run a successful business. I wish I could have gotten a business loan instead of a student loan. Joseph, I have a high school career, and I can say we have plenty of people competing for my job. We need more jobs and more affordable American dreams, not more people competing for the minimal opportunities, 100%.
Also, Joseph and Kevin, tell us, what do you guys do?
Kevin manages a series of Airbnbs. I do not know what Joseph does.
He's in real estate, bro. Kevin's in real estate.
Yeah, fuck
Shout
with
out,
him.
bud.
Kevin, we are seeing illegal up here in the mountains, y'all. It's going to get worse, too. The people up in them hills won't put up with this, especially those from Jupiter, California. I don't even go into Jupiter, even though I look white. I refuse to go, and now illegals are starting to flood the entire area of Jupiter. Jupiter is an offering community, by the way. People will start to go MIA. I'll send to the salt of the streets. Yes.
Good. We'll definitely be hitting that in the grab bag then.
Yeah.
Grab bag's gonna be lit today, by the way.
Yeah, it is. I got some good stuff in there, too.
Yay.
4150. This is I guess, two more. This one and one more. This is one of my favorite ones.
I don't like your favorites
This is one
anymore,
of my
bro.
favorite ones.
Control and all that actually does a great disservice to people like my family and others who came to the country legally, and it is an unfair policy.
You had
and,
the ability to.
Yeah.
And your family
yes,
had the money
That's
to.
right. That's right.
And
yes.
that's
and that's not unfair.
how is that fair? How is that fair that because you had the resources to do it and you happen to be from a country where there was a possibility of getting in, that you're able to?
Well, first of all, nobody owes anybody. So in terms of policy, it makes sense that you probably want people who are higher skilled, who already speak English, and who are well educated, so they can more firmly and easily fit into the overall economy.
See, I don't
That's
really
number
accept
one.
that.
Well, but that's a difference.
I don't really
Then-
accept that.
Okay,
that
you
is
know
what
what
you're
you-
going to want, though,
yeah.
because those people are going to easily assimilate to the country and cause
Yep.
overall less problems.
Yep. So you know what? She needs a couple buses in her town. That's exactly what needs to happen. Fucking Abbott or fucking.
I put the fire in the wire, bro. Joseph's an electrician.
That's right. That's right.
There you go.
With the fire in the wire. Let's go. Krystal needs to have 100,000 migrants dropped in her fucking actual town
In
where she
Virginia,
lives.
yeah.
Wherever her and fucking Kyle Kalinske lives, they need I don't know, few dozen buses to come in and drop off a bunch
It's
of illegal
overall
migrants.
good for the economy. So
Exactly. So that means her town will become safer, it'll become cleaner, and it'll have a better overall economy. That's exactly what she needs, because she has no fucking concept of what she's actually talking about. She's
Yeah.
a fucking idiot. Lineman, baby.
I love this.
Put the fire in the wire. Daddy's a lineman. Lineman's a good deal, man.
I love this. How is that fair? You know,
How is that fair?
there is no fair. This is the fucking world.
Do you
This
know what
doesn't
life
work-
is?
It doesn't work that way.
It's unfair.
That's not how things are not fair. My life is
Ever.
not fair. I live in America. It doesn't work that way.
No.
That's not how America works. Nothing here is fair. Nothing anywhere is fair. How is it fair that because you had the money in this? Because that's what it takes to get here. That's what it takes to get here. Listen,
You know what that is? That's
the
fucking.
most
That's white ass privilege, is what that is.
Listen, America is a country of fucking champions and winners, okay? I don't care. If you want to come here to be a champion and a winner, you have to show us that you have the potential. You have to show us that you can come here and be a fucking dog.
You
or
have
else
to
you don't
be
get to come here.
undeniable.
That is how this country works.
Or a trust fund baby like her.
This is a world of. This is a country of
Yeah.
of fucking dogs, dude.
Yep.
That's.
Yeah.
If you're from here, you don't have to be a dog because you were lucky enough to be born here.
Yep.
If you want to come here, you do have to be a dog because that's what we demand of the motherfuckers that come here. That's what we produce at the highest order. So that's what we're going to demand of you.
Yep.
I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's totally reasonable.
Totally
We
reasonable.
want the best of the best to come from anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this country is. We are always trying to make the best shit. Always. We want you to be the best. If you're not the best, don't fucking come here. We have a certain allotment for people who are just whatever. Yeah, we let a certain amount of whatever's in here because everybody to a certain degree should try, should get a shot or whatever. That's why
Yeah.
we have the lottery system. You are lucky enough to get a draw and come here. This is a good thing, I think.
Word.
Opportunity, the beauty, the shining light on the hill. This is a good thing for people to see that there is an opportunity to get there. If you have more to offer than just opportunity and dream, you have more reason to be here.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm sure that sounds fucking shitty, but
No, that's the way it is. That is what it is, dude. The
That's
original
my view
motherfuckers
as an
that got
American.
here were like, yeah, you can have fucking 40 acres and a mule. Now go try to survive out there.
yes.
Be hard, figure it the fuck out. The thing that really pisses me off, I think, the most is, and it's very common in like Krystal's progressive circles, the reason she got where she's at is because she got all her money from her ex-husbands.
Right.
She was born into this, essentially. She married into this. She got into it through circumstance. She was a failed TV host. They got fired from MSNBC. She tried to run for public office and did not get elected. And then she started an internet show.
Co-started.
Oh, yeah, co-hosted. And if Sagaar has any actual sense anymore, he needs to fucking sell out now and cash out while this thing is still working. Because he's about to become Anna Kasparian to Crystal Ball fucking Cenk Uygur.
Ooh, yeah.
That's exactly what's about to happen. They're about to be.
kind of fire, dude.
She has her moments, man.
Yeah.
She has her moments where all of a
Other
sudden you're
times
like,
she's
ooh,
insufferable. But
oh yeah. But every now and again you're like, ooh, that was hot. Say that again, sweetheart. Speak some more freedom to me,
Kevin, I also was a loser and drug addict as a junior in high school. Right there with you, dog.
dude. I'm not a drug addict, nor was I in high school, but I'm still a loser. I'm at a very low point in my life, gentlemen.
All right.
It's a whole thing. Let's carry on
It's
to the
last
next.
one. It's 45-10.
Ooh, we're getting deep into it. Here we go.
I don't have a problem with
but
that.
Sagar, you know the
When I go to
reality.
Poland or whatever.
You know the reality is because we are relatively well off and American, we pretty much can go wherever we want.
Mostly,
we
yes.
pretty much can go
Mostly.
whatever we want. So what you're advocating
you hear what
for
she
is a
said?
policy where
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Keep going.
basically like rich people can come and poor people can't. And I, even outside of the fairness, I don't actually think that that is the ideal migration system because, again, I think it's classist. I think it ignores the skills and the abilities that, people who happen to have been born in the wrong country and to the wrong.
So the point she's trying to make essentially at this point is they're coming off of the back of you are able to come here if you're rich, but you're not able to come here if you're poor.
Yes.
Set of parents that they can bring to the table. And I think that's demonstrated by the strength of America through migration throughout our history.
My care for the poor and the lower class extends to the borders of the United States. For everybody beyond that, I hope for the best for you, but it's not my problem. And that can sound harsh if you want, but I've seen enough of the world to know that there is so much
Kevin's my
suffering
dude.
that is out there that there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. My parents are from India. I feel no obligation to street urchins in India. I think that's the Indian government's
that.
problem.
So what's she saying? We can
Hit
go
that.
where we want because we're rich and we can do it. That's
You can.
You have more
Yes.
more things that are attractive to you to take you to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. No one owes you anything. You don't deserve to go to another country. It doesn't work that way.
No.
That's a totally different society. No one owes you anything. If you have more to offer, they're more likely to accept you.
Yep.
If you don't, you're lucky to get in. That's how it works.
Ask all the
It's
super
the reality
rich.
of America. It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Ask all the super affluent people that decided they were going to migrate to Canada when Trump got elected. How many of those people actually went? None? Pretty much none? We'll go with none.
7 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, try to fucking migrate to another country. Good luck. Godspeed. Okay, you know how this works? If you fly there, because you have the ability to fly there, you don't have to pay coyotes to get you there.
Right.
And then you just show up. And you know what's going to happen is either they're going to turn you away at customs because you don't have a visa and you weren't welcomed here, but just because you have a U.S. passport doesn't mean you get to get into their country. And then after a while, if you are there and you're not allowed to be there, you're going to get the federales busting down your door and they're going to throw you on a fucking plane if you're lucky and send you back to America.
They deport you, ya fuck.
That's how that works.
No one owes you anything.
Anything.
You don't
Anything.
deserve to go to another country. If you want to move to a different nation, there are requirements. It's going to take money.
When
it's going
I was-
to take fucking skills,
right.
things that attract you to other countries, other governments, other societies, you dumb bitch.
When
Sorry
I was,
that you don't have anything to offer, so you don't think that anybody should have to have anything to offer to come here.
yes.
That's not how it works.
Yep.
No one wants you to move anywhere else anyway because you don't fucking offer anything to them. You don't add anything to a society other than fucking this shit, which is taken away from our society right now.
That's right. And in Kevin's words, why are we listening to her? She's a white liberal single woman, right? No, she's not single no more. She's married to Kyle Kalinske,
Yeah.
so she's in a lesbian relationship. If so, ignore her. She is the type of person ruining our country.
Yes.
Amen, Kevin. Amen. She has toxic empathy. That is a perfect
Ooh,
yes.
that's fire.
So many of these hardcore progressive fucking what do you call those wasps? White affluent single no, what is it? Awful. Awful.
Affluent
White
female liberals.
There you go. Yeah, she's an awful. She's 100% awful. She's
Ooh,
fucking terrible,
toxic
dude.
empathy. That's
Toxic empathy, bro.
fire.
That's
I'm
what it
writing
is.
That one down.
That's a more proficient way of saying road to hell paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
Toxic empathy.
Ooh, that's fire.
I started out dirt poor, Kevin. I had no choice but to make something of myself, and soon as I possibly could. And he gives you clap, 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 Donovan.
Thank you.
That's great, Joseph. I was right with you. The chat's getting intimate.
I love you guys.
It's the homies, bro. The squad.
That's the last one that I have for this one.
Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you every week with the